Hello, everybody. This is Sinema77, horror and cult film lover. And, you know, often, I've said it before, often I sit here and I think to myself, you really should do the world a favor by, talking about films that are timeless, classic, immortal masterpieces. You know, you need to talk about films like The Godfather, you know, movies that inspire, bring light to the world. Classics that could be discussed forever and ever, like Gone with the Wind. But then I remember I'm Cinema 77. And so, really, what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about Lucio Fulci's The New York Ripper. This movie came out in 1982 and was basically Lucio Fulci's attempt at doing a slasher film. By then, you had already had Friday the 13th. Actually, by 1982, you would have had it would have been like on Friday the 13th Part 3 by then. But you had, Halloween, Friday the 13th, maybe Prom Night or Terror Train. I'm not 100% sure, but so anyway, yeah, it was the early 80s and the whole slasher thing was going into full effect. And obviously, Lucio Fulci decided if he was going to do one, he was going to step in there and he was going to try to go above and beyond. And let's see here. Yeah, yeah, Fulci co wrote this one, directed it, of course. Let's see here. The movie stars Jack Hedley, Almanta Keller, Howard Ross, Andrew Painter, Alexandra Deli Colli, and Paolo Malco, and who was also in Fulci's movie House by the Cemetery. And it says here, the most controversial horror film ever made. Nowadays, that'd probably be up for debate. I imagine a lot of people would probably be like, well, we've seen a lot more extreme and everything else, and it's like in terms of gore and in terms of pushing the boundaries on that. Yeah, we probably have seen more, but I think kind of what really makes this movie controversial even to this day is the fact that this is different from a lot of the other slasher movies of the 80s. You see, in the 80s slasher movies, usually your hero was always a woman. Um, these movies, like Friday the 13th and Halloween and stuff like that. Once in a while, you had one where you had like a male hero fighting the killer with the female. Like in terms of Halloween, you had Donald Pleasance and Jamie Lee Curtis. But like in Friday the 13th, usually it always ended up being a woman who fought, Jason or Mrs. Voorhees. Whether it was Adrian King or Amy Steele or whoever, Melanie Kinnaman, so on. But yeah, so this was kind of different in the fact that this movie is, I gotta be honest, is probably one of the most misogynist type of. I mean, I hate to use that word. I'm probably, fans of the movie are going to really slam me for that, but this movie is not the most female friendly in the world. You have a killer who's going around New York and he's murdering women, and a lot of the times what he's doing is like he's mutilating a woman. Usually, um, like there's one scene he mutilates a woman's vagina with a broken bottle, like a broken wine bottle. And then, at the beginning of the movie, there's a woman on a bicycle and she's riding down, New York Street. She gets too close to this guy's car. She scratches his door and he goes on this tirade and he's telling her, you dumb bitch. And, you know, you should, you got the brains of a chicken and, you women should be in the kitchen where you belong, shit like that. And she's telling, tell her, did I say that already? You got the brains of a chicken? Yeah, I think so. Anyway, and then she tells him, yeah, you're an asshole and all this stuff. And so she, gets on the ferry. Turns out this guy, he parks his car there too. And so, she decides she's going to, write something on his windshield. So she gets in the car and takes lipstick and she starts like writing on the windshield of the car. And then our unseen killer gets in there with her and everything else. And he's kind of eyeing her. And, pretty much, takes a knife and sticks it in her lower belly and just splits her all the way up and everything else. This movie does definitely, I mean, that's going to be the thing. If you want a slasher movie with gore, this movie will deliver. This movie's going to give you everything you want in terms of gore. It's explicit gore, explicit nudity. Um, I mean, if you complain about, like a shot of breasts in Friday the 13th, then this movie is going to give you a heart attack. Because, I mean, we're showing, women full frontal and, full behind too, so you're seeing everything on women in this movie. And so, of course, it's kind of like yeah, it is a slasher movie, but at the same time, it's kind of like a murder mystery detective mystery and stuff. Jack Hedley plays a cop who's, he's on the trail of the killer. He's trying to find out what's going on, and basically, like the killer does call the police, and he's taunting them, and he sounds like a kind of doing almost like a Donald Duck impression, but it's kind of a little, it's kind of like Donald Duck, but it's a little too high pitched, for Donald Duck. But so they're trying to discover who the killer is, and you kind of got like these kind of like side stories going on. Like there's a story of Faye who is, she's I believe she's like a gymnast or an acrobat, or not an acrobat, but yeah, like a gymnast, and she's in training and stuff, and she barely survives an attack by the killer, and it's her and her boyfriend, and so you're kind of following that plot line a little bit. There's also the plot line of this guy who's, you know kind of like the obvious red herring, and he's going around kind of like, um, kind of like being really creepy towards women and stuff, and he's got fingers missing on his hand, and so he kind of becomes like the obvious one that everybody suspects is the killer, and everything else. And then there's also a side story about like a woman who's, you could tell she's, this rich woman, and she's married to this rich man, and um you come to find out that they have this kind of kinky sexual thing going on where she goes out and she, like watches live sex shows, and she masturbates, and she records the sounds that she makes while she's masturbating, and then she gives the tapes to him, and then he uses it to get off on. And so yeah, she's kind of going, there's, I kid you not, I mean, there's literally a scene this woman goes into, kind of like a kind of like a dive, kind of a bar, and these two guys are playing pool, and one of them, I believe, is George Eastman from Anthropophagus and Absurd and movies like that. I do believe it is George Eastman. I hope it is. I hope I'm not lying about that. I hope I'm not misinforming anybody, but I think it's him anyway. And him and this other guy, they sit at this table with this woman, and this guy kicks off his shoe, and he uses his foot to masturbate this woman, to get her off and everything else. And so yeah, I mean, this movie's definitely got kink to it. So I mean, if you're sitting here and you're really really worried about, you know, if you're really really worried about, uh, like this movie's not going to deliver the goods in terms of, nudity or gore. No, this movie's got you covered. You're going to get what you want out of this, and then some. Of course, being Lucio Fulci, there's one gruesome death scene that involves an eyeball. So, I mean, it's Lucio Fulci. There's going to be stuff, bad stuff happening to eyeballs in this movie. So, but yeah, so like I said, mostly it's a murder mystery, and like I said, this movie is definitely not, the most female friendly horror film of all time. Like I said, that there's the character of Faye. She's got her boyfriend, and her boyfriend, is, you know, calling her stupid. And we find out that the detective, I think he's married, but he's sleeping with a prostitute. And at one point, he asks, you know, he's saying, he asked her to make him some coffee or something like that, and he's like, she says something to him, and he says something along the lines of, don't be a stupid bitch, and all this kind of stuff. And she's like, hey, honey, I'm not your wife, and all this kind of stuff. So, so yeah, so that's kind of, the main thing about this movie is, I think that's, like I said, maybe not so much in terms of gore or kills or anything, because, I mean, that's, definitely we've seen different, but, and I will admit, some of the effects on here are not really the best, but some of it is. You do have some special effects scenes here that really are cringeworthy. I mean, they really do make you squirm in your seat. But yeah, the extras on here are: I'm an actress, interview with Zora, Kurova and New York City's locations then and now and theatrical trailer. I'm expecting probably before too long, Blue Underground will probably redo this 4K master, brand new bonus features, so on and so forth. If they don't do it, then chances are probably uh, like Arrow will probably do it. So this is what I got for now. But yeah, I'm expecting. I'm not going to be too surprised if before too long down the road this one decides to get redone. But yeah, this movie, I mean, it's like I said, it's pretty good. I mean, if you want gore, if you want all that stuff, then yeah, New York Ripper is definitely going to deliver. Like I said, yeah, kind of the blood, is, I mean, it's bloody. It's definitely bloody, but um, a couple of the special effects in here, I do have to admit, are pretty good. They really, there are a couple of them that are going to knock you out. But see, I'm sorry if I'm rambling. It's just I'm trying not to give away too much of the movie, in case, I want to sit here and give away all the spoilers. And yes, I do believe that some of this movie I do believe was shot in, you know, or actually was all this shot in New York? Does it say? Let's see, I want to say that like parts of it were filmed in. Yeah, I want to say that like parts of it were filmed in New York, but then like some interiors and stuff I believe might have been filmed back in Italy. So I could be wrong about that, but anyway, so yeah, Zora Kurova, she's the actress. She's doing a live sex show, and then she goes into her dressing room and she meets, her vagina meets the nasty end of a broken, like I said, broken wine bottle. So yeah, so take that for what it's worth. But anyway, yeah, that's like I said, I don't want to really give away too much of the ending or anything like that. But like I said, yeah, it's more of a murder mystery. It's trying to find out who the killer is, and so. But yeah, I say, if you really want like a gruesome slasher movie, and I'm sure I would definitely get people who would argue with me and say, yeah, there's been, way more intense stuff done since this movie. And like I said, in terms of gore and kill scenes and stuff like that, I would agree with that. But I would just say though, I think in terms of the fact, like I said, this movie is definitely not very female friendly. So you're gonna this is gonna be a little bit of a culture shock coming from when 80s slasher movies where you see women more and more becoming heroes and becoming the ones who defeat the killer and stuff like that. This is kind of a giant couple of steps backwards, but still, it's a good movie. So so take it for what it's worth. But anyway, that's gonna about do it. We talked about like I said, yeah, I don't want to give too much away if anybody wants to see it, but yeah, that's Lucio Fulci's The New York Ripper. And so if anybody took the time to watch this video, and I thank you for doing so. I truly appreciate you for doing it. If you like the video, please like and subscribe. This is Sinema77, horror and cult film lover, and if you love, really gruesome Lucio Fulci, ultra nasty, sleazy slasher movies like I do, then hopefully we'll talk later. Good night.